Here, we see some LTs, fresh from commissioning. You can tell by the folders full of documents, general, and the look of confusion that these are some freshly hatched LTs. Just like how baby sea turtles make a break for the relative safety of the ocean after hatching, these lieutenants are trying to make it to SAR before they get lost or eaten by bears. Unfortunately, not all of them will survive the trials of in-processing. Like this one, who the Air Force has rejected as one of its own. This happens from time to time, often for no reason we can tell. Now the Air Force doesn't even recognize the LT as someone it has to pay. If he can't convince the Air Force he belongs, he'll starve within a month. Once an LT has cleared in processing, they will gather together in the Whiskey Alert for safety. Here, they will slowly mature into full butter bars. Even though they're technically adults, they don't actually know anything yet. Because of this, they'll have to spend anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks being told how to be a functional adult by the Air Force. Some could even take as long as 9 months. The process is excruciating, and only 2 in every 3 lieutenants will survive. If the LT makes it through the avalanche of PowerPoints and interactive quizzes that the Air Force use to determine if someone is ready for the real world, they'll be placed in a casual job. In theory, it'll help prepare them to be an officer and expose them to the inner workings of their new squadron. While on casual status, many LTs do nothing other than work out. Here, we see a young LT who is attempting to challenge the gym's alpha male for dominance. He has fallen short, and as such will be mercilessly mocked by his peers. He'll likely not enter the gym for the duration of his time here. By now, you may have picked up on an interesting trait of the lieutenants. They're highly social pack creatures. You'll never see an LT on their own if they can help it. They know that an LT on its own is vulnerable and stick together for safety. This lieutenant has been separated from the pack because he forgot something in his car. This was not the day to be forgetful because there's a senior NCO on the prowl. The rest of the pack knows that one of their packmates has been lost, but it's too late for them to help.
How many fingers am I holding up?
2, sir.
How did you get this many?
I don't know, sir.
How is that even possible? You even threw a champagne in there, talk about packages. I'm like, this is a 2v2 non-maneuvering group. I don't even. God, man, you know what? If I had this many fingers coming at you, how many is this?
1, sir.
Right.
Once the LT begins class, it will be taught the basics of aviation before learning that it will apply almost none of this over the course of its life. This has the unfortunate effect of making some LTs believe that they still have a shot of being pilots before cruelly ripping that hope away from them. It has been some time since we last saw LTs, but the pack has grown quite a bit. You can tell they developed the distinctive arm markings of older lieutenants, and the confusion we saw earlier has been replaced by exhaustion. LTs have a very complicated social hierarchy, in which the older members of the pack do their best to make the lives of the younger members miserable in new and creative ways. We were able to secure an interview with Captain Norris, a local expert on lieutenants, on the condition that he remain anonymous.
Sir, how do you spot the lieutenant?
Well, the easiest way to spot the lieutenant is, of course, by their rank. But if you can't see their rank, typically moving in a timid fashion, usually trying to avoid salutes, or just overall confused. Usually looking at an in-processing sheet, walking into offices, walking out of offices, things like that.
Okay, that seems pretty understandable. What would you say is the biggest danger to lieutenant?
Ooh, so it's a dangerous world out there for lieutenants, obviously. The biggest one would be the threat of an SMP. That and popcorn splatter.
Okay, that's very interesting as well. Establishing that the SMP is the most dangerous thing to an LT, how does the LT usually respond to this action?
It depends. So sometimes the LT in the wild environment will respond by crying. Another defense mechanism is something we call throwing people under the bus. So for instance, well, my assist didn't do my job for me, so therefore I SMP'd.
Have any of these actions ever changed your mind as an instructor?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard, when you tell someone they're SMPing and then you see them crying, so that certainly would change my mind. So typically, that would happen. I would go to Bev and have her put me on the schedule so I can hook them again the next day.
Well, that's very riveting, and thank you, sir. Do you have any more questions you want to ask?
Yeah, I think that, there's
Moses, to you.
Sir, when is an LT considered an adult?
Oh man, when is an LT considered an adult? Well, there are varying levels of adult. So the best way to tell if an LT has become an adult is if they are a captain. So that's a good way. Another good way would be if they can make it through an LFE sim without breaking down and crying and yelling. Another good way that they're coming of age is they can make a good solid batch of jalapeno popcorn.
Now, sir, as a former LT yourself,
Recovering.
What are your opinions on LTs, sir?
As a recovering lieutenant myself, I just want to say, it's not their fault. They're more afraid of you than you are of them. Of course, because why on earth? Why would I be afraid of them? Yeah, that's my opinion of them. It's not their fault. They're just a product of their environment. Obviously they're not making very much money. They're all staying at Whispering Palms, so they're kind of surrounded by other lieutenants. So I get it.
All right, thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us as we explored the life cycle of the lieutenant. We've had the opportunity to watch as Class 1810 grows from baby class to their very own callsign night. They still have a ways to go before they're fully grown controllers, but with hard work and perseverance, they'll finally earn their wings. Or they'll end up guarding a gate in North Dakota. Only time will tell.